Ayo, what's good, Sidereal squad? My name is Magnolia, and today I'm going to be showing you all how to sound design in any plugin. Let's get it. So in this case, I'm going to be working in Serum, which is like a $200 synthesizer plugin, but you can really apply these techniques in any plugin that you have that allows you to sound design. First thing we're going to be talking about are oscillators. Oscillators basically are sources that generate sound for you to work with. Each oscillator is putting out different waveforms. In this case, we're gonna have a saw wave created, but we can switch it to any type of wave that we want. All the different waveforms and wavetables have different sounds. You just have to get used to it and know what sound you want. Right, so once you've selected your sound source, in my case it's gonna be a sine wave, you want to start with your ADSR controls. That means attack, decay, sustain and release controls. These controls allow you to change whether you want your sound to last long or last short and how it's changing over time. The attack, for example, just defines how long it takes the sound to reach its maximum volume. In this tutorial, I'm going to be sound designing a plug, so I don't want that much of a long attack. I'm probably going to set it to like 4.7 milliseconds. The hold parameter defines how long the sound is going to hold when you hold the note down. So when you press a note on your keyboard and you keep it pressed, how long is the sound going to stay at its maximum volume? For a plug, I want this on 0. The decay and the sustain controls will define whether you want the sound to be short or you want it to be long. Now with decay and sustain volume, you basically can control whether you want a plucky sound or you want like an ambient long sound. In my case, I want like a very plucky short sound, so as you can see here, it's gonna go all the way up at the start with the attack and then go down. But I don't want it to instantly end after that, so I use the release knob. I pull it up to like, I don't know, 800 milliseconds. And then with the release, I select how long it takes it to fade out to the absolute 0 after releasing the note. Alright, so now that we have the bass to work with, I'm going to select the second waveform, an oscillator B. I'm just going to with a saw wave here. And next thing, I'm going to turn up the unison. Now this is not available in every plugin, but basically what unison does is it creates multiple voices that are slightly detuned, so it sounds more full. Here is the sound without unison. And here's it with unison. I'm gonna adjust the detune of the unison voices a bit. Now this sounds dope, but now we have all the fuzzy high end in there, so I'm gonna activate a filter, which is usually what I'm working with, and I'll turn the filter on for both oscillators A and B. And let's hear how this sounds. It sounds kind of muddy right now, so I want this pluckiness at the start. What I do is I go to my LFOs. So LFOs are basically little control units that you can link to any parameter in your sound design. This works different in any plugin. For example, in Electra X you have the matrix for it, which basically just links LFOs to certain parameters in the plugin. But in Serum it's very visual, so I take the LFO I just made and I drag it onto the frequency slide, which is attached to the filter frequency, and I make it an envelope, so every time the note hits it's gonna do this little envelope, and I'm gonna adjust it just slightly, and there we go. This sounds like some virtual Lil Uzi type beat shit. The process of linking a certain parameter to an LFO that controls it over time is called modulation, and it's what really makes your sound come to life. So if I link this LFO to this parameter right here and select sync half window as an option, it's gonna make the sound even more plucky. Now that we have the bass, let's move on to the effects. First effect I want to go over is a chorus, because that's very often used in trap beats, trap bells or whatever. If I use a chorus, it's gonna sound like this. A very slight difference. If I turn it up, you can hear it better. It's gonna muffle the sound and make it really ambient. So I don't want that at the start, since I want it to be very plucky. But I'm gonna attach the LFO to the mix knob and make it not hit as a start, and then go back to hitting when the sound is fading out. So next thing I want to do is cut out some low end because the sound sounds really like muffled and I really don't like that. So I'm gonna activate this EQ and make a little EQ shape at the low end. And again, we can play around with the LFO. So let's make a little high end boost and attach our LFO to it. Hold on. Yes sir, sounds dope. Alright, the next thing I would do in this case is just compressing it a bit. So I'd add a compressor just to gain some volume. Next thing is I'm gonna add delay. The last thing we want is a reverb. There you go, you're ready to get your next placement with Lil Uzi. Got a virtual plug? Let's make a sub bass. A dope ass sub bass is like the simplest thing to do. What I always do in my beats when I use a sub bass is I take a saw wave, I pitch it down, add some unison and a bit less detuning. I activate a filter, pull up the attack a bit so it's not as clicky at the start. Last step, I make it mono so it only has one tone playing at a time. And pull up the quarter time knob, which means it's gonna slide in between the notes that overlap. And that's what it should sound like. So to wrap this up, an oscillator creates the sound you want to work with. ADSR times, attack, decay, sustain, release times define how long your sound takes to develop over time. LFOs can be attached to any parameter in your plugin to modulate them over time. A filter cuts off the different frequencies, and the things you surely know, delay and reverb, just make the sound more spacious. Once you manage to get comfortable with these basics, you're gonna be able to design pretty much whatever you want. It's just all about experimenting and gaining experience, so just make sure to keep working. What's really powerful about sound design is that you can make any sound you have in your head. In this case, I was gonna flip an acapella that a friend of mine sent me, but I wasn't able to find the sound that I wanted, so I just made it myself. I can show you the preset. Another preset. Our preset. So all the presets I used in here are made by myself, and yeah, it turned out fire. Now before I'm gonna play this acapella flip for you guys, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Magnolia Music. Make sure to join our Discord server, links in the description. Also make sure that you're followed to sidereal.wave on Instagram. We're gonna be dropping free kits and tutorials on there. And last but not least, subscribe, leave a like to be part of the Sidereal family. Let's get it.